Welcome back to A People's Guide to Publishing. I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing and Distribution. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 25 years.
I'm Ellie Blue. I'm the editorial and marketing director here at Microcosm. We are an independent mid-list publisher based in Portland, Oregon, and Cleveland, Ohio. We have over 700 books, over 25 employees, and we make about 40 new books every year. And we distribute thousands of titles from other publishers.
We started this podcast so that we can share what we've learned with newer publishers so that you can learn from our mistakes.
Or maybe you just want to understand the publishing industry.
This week, we are going to talk about some current events news regarding the trial of the century. Brangel Penguin, Brad,
Schuster.
Oh wait, no, that's not quite right.
Well, people have been talking about the proposed merger of Penguin Random House with Simon & Schuster.
Oh,
I guess it's an acquisition,
prepared
really.
for the wrong thing.
Joe has some celebrity gossip to share, but I would like to talk about publishing.
I don't want
as usual.
Be the one to break that news for the followers of our podcast. Maybe next time.
We could have so many followers if that was our focus. Anyway.
Well,
thanks for joining us.
Enjoy our rebrand in a few years when we only do celebrity gossip. For now, we will talk about the Simon & Schuster attempts to be purchased by Penguin Random House, their most cash-moneyed suitor.
And then the Justice Department's attempt to break up this budding marriage of convenience and fortune.
So, for starters, publishing is very, very small. Even these companies, which literally do billions of dollars of business each year in the United States alone, you have to look at it more along the lines of like when the telecom companies merged. That was something that, had a mandatory overview of the federal government to make sure that it wouldn't basically destroy the opportunities and options for the American people. Even when Penguin and Random House merged about 6 years ago, even that was not big enough for this level of scrutiny. And, part of it is just that, the Supreme Court and the U.S. justice system in recent years has been incredibly pro-business and hasn't really stood in the way of they let Time, and Warner and, AOL all merge, and, those are much bigger mergers than this. And so it was kind of a shocker to see that, they want to kind of challenge this in the current White House. This is an interesting turn of events. So, but
what does it mean?
That besides, I really, really cannot stress this enough. There are two publishing industries. There's the publishing industry that primarily sells hardcover books from celebrities in bookstores on a very, very short timeline turnaround, has incredibly strong penetration and reach to do that. And then those books are very dead in the water after a year. And then there's everybody else, that sells paperbacks and sells ebooks and has to worry about how the book will be performing in a year,
Right.
And those two worlds could not be more different. And this trial really only affects column A, which is literally 10 companies or fewer.
Right. And how much, can you give us a sense of scope, how big is one versus the other?
Well, the good news is they're roughly about the same size.
Okay.
They're both about 50% of the industry. The big 5 houses in total are about 42% of the industry, and then the independents are about 58% of the industry, but some of the independents, for who knows why, I cannot imagine this would be desirable, want to compete on that side of the business. Or maybe they can. Maybe they're better at it. And this has kind of been one of the more interesting things, is that side of the business, the big 5, they don't really know how to make a hit. They know how to buy an already successful hit. They know how to buy a person with a gigantic platform. And they know how to have meetings with a celebrities agency in order to enter into an auction to obtain those rights. And make no mistake, and I cannot say this loud enough or frequently enough, almost all of those books lose money. Of the thousands of books that Penguin Random House publishes each year, 4%, or about 135 per year, earn back their advances and, make money.
I'm so
Which
shocked.
truly means they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to do it. And just for perspective, we have we have like 900 and some titles. 4 are in the red of those. So it's like they earn out on about 4% of what they publish. We earn out on 96% of what we publish. Just putting that out there. So that is how the two worlds of publishing are different.
The ones that earn out must earn so much.
Yep. Between those two companies, formerly 3 companies, they do control 91% of best-selling books.
Wow.
With most of the rest going to Hachette. Though some go to Macmillan, but Macmillan's been quietly up for sale if you know anybody with a couple billion to burn.
So, real quick, I guess, for the rest of us, the other half who isn't focused on, kind of churning out front list lottery tickets, what does this merger mean to us, or does it mean anything to us?
And that's the thing. It can be interesting. It can be illuminating. It can be kind of fun to see that they really have it worse than we do. But the problems and the parallels are few. It's just a different world, we wouldn't ever be in an auction situation for a book or an author.
Right.
It just wouldn't happen.
We're not going to be bidding the $250,000 to their $400,000 and then bitterly losing.
I mean, we wouldn't, once,
For the Brangelina
once something
memoir.
is on an auction, even at any price, it's not worth it, because
Right.
once something goes on auction, it means that you're paying more than it's worth. And, and this was kind of one of the things that I saw cited quite a bit, was that people were lamenting the reduction in book advances. And I was like, well, that is because these companies are not earning out those advances 90-some% of the time. Meaning that the books were not paying for themselves. So they were doing the logical thing of reducing the amount that they're paying out in advances. And and if your book sells, you still get paid. You just don't get paid more than what your book is worth. And, I'm not a capitalism apologist. I'm not oh, this is fine or great. But it's also on some level, for publishing to continue existing, publishers can't pay more than a book sells. If I need to say that, which sometimes it feels like I do.
That's a great note to end on. Our news analysis.
I mean, I would want to stick it in there as well that, there's been quite a bit of grousing about how salespeople are involved in acquisition conversations on the same tip. Mm-hmm. And I don't see what's bad about that, because as we say, I swear every week on this podcast, if a publisher can't sell your book, you don't want them to publish your book. Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
on Twitter at Microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at Microcosm_pub,
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.